In this video, I'm going to be showing you 5 ways that you can get yourself some incredible sounding music, all without the hassle and the worry and the stress of having the potential possibility of having a copyright strike on your YouTube videos from the moment that you upload it, or even years down the line. If you follow the ways that I'm going to show you in this video, you will never ever have to worry about copyright strikes. They will never happen. So let's just jump straight into this with point number 1. Website number 1 is the YouTube library. This is easily the best place that you can go to ensure that you will never get yourself a copyright strike or worry about any issues with that. You know, the YouTube library has so many different kinds of songs on there in every genre, of every length. They even include jingles, which can be really useful for like intros to your YouTube videos. You know, you can get short length, long length, you can customize it by jazz or rock, fast tempo, moods, if it's going to be sad or happy. There are so many different ways on the YouTube library that you can define the tracks. So you can always kind of find something that you're looking for, and you actually can get some very famous songs on this YouTube library that you wouldn't have thought otherwise. You'd think that they would get copyrighted. So for example, this song right here and this song right here are 2 songs that are available in the YouTube library, and you won't get copyrighted for using them, which is insane considering how popular these songs are. So the pros of the YouTube library clearly are that they are, you know, royalty-free tracks. You're not going to get copyrighted. But the issue with that, the con, is that, you know, they kind of sound cheap in a lot of ways. They kind of sound very basic. You're going to have to do a bit of digging every time you go into the YouTube library to find that specific track that sounds high quality and actually fits the YouTube video that you're creating. Another con that I find with the YouTube library is, if you're like me and you've been around on the internet a long time, you would have heard the same royalty-free tracks from Incompetech or Ben Sound, and now the YouTube library is kind of falling into that same category where everyone is using the same kinds of songs, and so everything's starting to become a bit more repetitive. You're hearing the same stuff all the time, and it can actually make your videos not seem so unique. Website number 2 is Epidemic Sounds. This is personally my favorite of everything on this list. I think that Epidemic Sounds are incredible when it comes to the quality of their tracks. They don't sound cheap and basic and repetitive like you kind of get with that YouTube library and some of the other royalty-free sounds that you can get online. Another thing that I really like about Epidemic Sounds is that it's not just music. Epidemic Sounds also allow you to have sound effects that you can use, as well as jingles. So there's a huge variety on the platform for you to browse through. And I think that one of the greatest things about Epidemic Sounds I don't see anywhere else in a lot of online music libraries is that they actually allow you to isolate the stems from songs. So you can actually strip out certain assets of the song, such as just having the bass or just the drums or just the guitar. And you know, obviously these are layered to build up the entire song, but sometimes you can actually remove certain instruments from the song to make it seem much more fitting for the video, the mood that you're trying to create in your video. And actually, you know, you can actually kind of have different sounding songs, and you can change it in completely different ways, and it remains unique to you and the YouTube video that you're creating. Some more great pros of Epidemic Sound is that you can actually sort all of these songs by playlists and library. They are constantly putting out new playlists, very similar to what you would see on Apple Music or Spotify. They will actually go ahead and put these into specific genres, some of them even breaking down so detailed and niched into just a category for YouTube gaming channels. And you know, you can go through that and you will listen to these songs, and they're so high quality that you can actually picture them fitting perfectly on a gaming YouTube channel. And that's how they've broken down everything on their YouTube channel. They have so many different genres and playlists that you can go ahead and look at, and you can usually find something pretty quickly for your YouTube videos when you're editing, and you don't have to spend a lot of time browsing the internet and listening to song after song after song trying to find the perfect fit. You know, they've already curated and categorized these tracks for you. Here's some more great pros for Epidemic Sounds, is that they have really great customer support. They get back to you very, very rapidly. And also they actually have quite a few great deals when it comes to YouTube subscriptions. So, you know, these sites are used by big television companies. I used to work at a television company here in London, and we used to create Facebook and YouTube video content for these big YouTube channels, and we would actually use Epidemic Sounds for the music in those videos and trailers. But the thing is that when you have a certain subscription with Epidemic Sounds, which are quite cheap by the way, you won't actually get yourself penalized, you know, 7, 8 months later, maybe even a year later, like you would with other royalty-free websites. There are other royalty-free websites out there where you can pay for a track and they say they won't copyright strike you because you have a license, but then actually somewhere down the line they change their mind of the policy on that website, and what will happen is your YouTube video will then get flagged. You know, this could be like 2 years down the line, and if you had that song in multiple videos, what could happen is your YouTube channel could easily get copyright striked and closed down, and you lose everything that you've worked for. And so it's really dangerous to get music from those kind of YouTube channels. But with Epidemic Sound, you don't have to worry about any of that, because they very, very clearly stated that it will not happen, that every single track that you get through your subscription will always remain copyright free. Now, one of the biggest cons that I find with Epidemic Sounds is quite a big one, in that when you actually have your subscription for your YouTube channel, for example, and you actually go ahead and use that music in that video, you can't actually then use that music, that track, on something such as an Instagram video or IGTV or a Facebook video. If you were to actually use that, you're not allowed. You only have that license for your YouTube channel as a single use license. So that can be a bit of a disappointing thing to know. If you're happy to go ahead and pay for the extra licensing, that's perfectly fine, but you know, that also comes with an additional cost. And so, you know, those are kind of damaging costs that have stopped me from saying that Epidemic Sounds is the best of all time. But for me, on this list, Epidemic Sounds is simply the best service that you can get. So the third place that you can go to find some great music online is SoundCloud. I'm sure you've all heard of SoundCloud. It's a great music for finding music. A lot of up and coming people tend to put their music on there, which means you can actually find some real gems that you won't necessarily find on royalty-free websites that obviously always sound very stock based and kind of get repetitive. You know, here these are actually high quality tracks where you usually have people creating beats that they actually want to get into music production and work with famous musicians. So the way to get music from SoundCloud is to contact individual artists and ask for their permission to use their music in your YouTube videos. You'll find that most people will commonly say yes, because they obviously want to get the exposure and they'll be happy for you to use their track in your YouTube video. All they'll probably ask for is for you to leave that link back to their profile in the YouTube description, just so that they can actually get something back from it, rather than just giving you the track to use and actually getting no exposure. SoundCloud has so many people on there, so many talented artists. There's actually a really great way to network and get to knowing many people who actually produce you know, the music that will fit your YouTube videos. You can actually start to build up a relationship there, maybe even create a partnership where they give you access to using any of their music on their profile, as long as you offer that exposure for them by maybe saying that if you like the music, you can click the link in the description, or just leaving the YouTube link in the description may be enough for some artists. But it's a great way to be able to network and find yourself some really great talented artists and musicians who want to help you help them. Now, the cons to SoundCloud are kind of a big one, because it's very time consuming. There are so many artists and so many tracks on SoundCloud, and they don't have the best search capabilities, so you'll find yourself listening to so many songs over and over again until you find the thing that fits. You know, this can be very annoying, especially when you have the second con, which is you find the track, you like it, after all that time looking for it, and then you send the direct message to the artist asking for their permission, and then you never hear back because they either get way too many DMs from other people who are trying to use their music, or their account's inactive, or they just don't get back to you. They don't want to, lend their music out. And so you can actually, find yourself DMing people and actually getting no further ahead. And I think that the biggest downside to using SoundCloud is that at any time in the future, they could go ahead and copyright strike you. 3 years down the line, if they were to ever actually break and get big and start putting their music with a record label, that will automatically go through YouTube, and they'll be able to search the audio of your YouTube video to find that you have that track in your video, and you will have your YouTube video copyrighted. So it is a bit of a risky one. Method number 4 is to ask your music friends. So I have a few friends who are into music and are music producers, and also have their own sets at big clubs here in London. And so they actually will lend their music to me to use in my YouTube videos, copyright free. I know that I will never get a strike on it because they will not strike me, as they're my friend. And it's also really, really great because no one else on YouTube is going to have their music. Because I personally know them and they're giving me their music, no one is going to be able to have very similar music to me or actually use the same track, because it's unique and only I have access to that track. So it actually allows me to be original. So there are some really great pros there when it comes to your friends lending you your music. However, obviously a big con of this is that if you don't have any friends who make their own beats, then obviously you're not going to be able to use this method. Method number 5 is to make your own music. Now, obviously no one is going to have the same music as you, and so you're going to be very original, and because you're making the track itself, you can actually make sure that it matches the video that you're creating. Alongside this, no one is going to copyright strike you, as it's your own music. This is clearly the best way out of all of these options. You can live stress-free, as happy as can be, because you're not going to have that shadow creeping over your shoulder, always feeling like at any minute you're going to get copyright striked and you potentially could lose that video or your YouTube channel. Now obviously there are a few different ways that you can make your own music. I have some of these listed down here. You can use something like GarageBand, Fruity Loops, Ableton, Logic Pro. There are quite a lot of different tools out there that you can use for making your own music. And obviously you don't have to make this on this big grandiose scale. You could just make this be very, very minimal with a few beats and hits and hats on a drum, and all of a sudden you're going to have a bit of a background noise there. You don't have to go out and try and be like Kanye West and be the greatest music producer of all time. There obviously is a massive, massive con to creating your own music, and that is going to be very time consuming. And so obviously if you're going to be someone who's uploading a lot of YouTube videos, you're not necessarily going to have the time to make specific tracks for each and every one. And so this may not be a viable option. Thank you all for watching this video. If you enjoyed, be sure to give the video a like, and I hope to see you all in my next video. Have a great day.